So, Le J'aime 10 asks,
This is a bit difficult for me to memorize. I'm not sure if this was asked before, but in South Korean schools, what kind of events do they hold for the students? Like here in the USA, when I was in HS, we have homecoming, prom, spirit week, where we dress up differently on different days, like nerd day, dress up like a nerd. Prep rallies and can't think of other ones, but stuff like that, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. If not those things, then do they do things that are similar, question mark, question mark.
wow, you read that with such love.
Sign me up to an audiobook deal.
For 50 Shades of Grey?
So yes, things are quite different here in Korea. They don't have prom, they don't have homecoming. I don't actually know of any school dances where people dance together. They dance on stage as a performance, but never together in like a
Romantic
romantic
setting.
kind of, I'm trying to find a word for it.
If that was being
and the
played
chaperone has to come in with a
and be
balloon
like,
between us.
yeah.
Is that what school
lover.
dances are like now? I don't know.
Don't you remember what school dances
I
were
was
like?
grabbing girls' butts in grade 8 at school dances.
He was bad. Thank goodness we didn't go to the same school together because this never would have worked out. He's a little...
It's just so badass. What do you want me to say?
I was the kind of person who was at a school dance where we like had our fingers completely apart from each other, didn't want to touch each other, and everyone was nervous. Simon's in the school and they're all like grinding up against each other.
That's how I roll, son.
So to answer the first question, no romantic dancing. Dang, dang, dang. Now we should also specify that I actually taught in a Korean high school and Simon taught in a Korean middle school, so we did have different experiences. And
But
also,
there is some overlap between my experience and Martina's experience in the festivals.
but I think people should realize that not all schools in Korea will do the same things. I think the ones that we're going to talk about are basic, but for example, international schools in Korea, I have no idea.
know
Maybe
what
they
they
have
do.
proms and stuff like that.
International school students in Korea, let us know. Do you do romantic dancing with each other?
Bees in the trap, bees in the trap.
So the most important thing that we've noticed about school festivals is that they're very homeroom centered. A lot of the activities are based on developing relationships with your homeroom teacher or your homeroom classmates because you're pretty much with them all day.
In fact, now that I think about it, most of the events that we had when we were in high school, like Spirit Day or like Pajama Day or whatever, it was more like a social event for you. You didn't really interact with your classroom because you
Like
may...
the school as a whole.
Yeah, because you may not get along with anyone in your classroom. And people didn't, and so then like no one would cooperate with each other, right? Can you
While in
imagine?
Korean schools, you're with them from like first class to the very end of the day. Just different teachers come into your class, but you stay with that same group of students.
We did that when we were in middle school, like back in North America, but in high school we rotated, right? In Korea,
Called Rotary.
was it called a rotary?
That's what, when they introduced it to me, they're like Rotary, I'm like, ooh, Rotary.
Really? Oh my gosh, no, we didn't have that kind of cheesy wording.
Screw you, cheese was great.
But think about high school in Korea is a little bit different. Imagine being there from 7 a.m. to like 9 or 12 o'clock, like midnight, with the same students. Okay, you have to get along with these people or it's gonna be hell for you, right?
So we're gonna talk about a couple of the events that we remember back when we were teachers.
So the first big event that we both had when we were teaching middle school and high school was kind of like a month into the school year. The students would go on a retreat, like a little mini 1 day to 3 day retreat to bond with their classmates.
They would travel somewhere outside of their school in Korea. Like Martina's school went to Jeju because they were balling, but my school just went off to like the mountains somewhere.
Well, maybe the mountains were more expensive. Maybe they were like Baldwin Mountains.
They didn't have tents, yo. Did they have tents? I don't remember. I wasn't invited while Martina was invited to go.
Poor Simon.
I wanted to go.
So I guess I'll take over this part then. So yes, we had all these tour buses. There were like 14 tour buses and we'd all like sing K-pop songs in the buses while we were driving around places. It was awesome. And we would visit lots of landmarks. But the big event was the talent show. Every homeroom class had to get together with their class. And this was like a week or like 2 weeks before, however long they would prepare for it. And they could do like a skit, like some kind of play. But most of them would end up doing like a dance number. So they would do like a K-pop song or some other like funny jazz number.
Bees in the trap, bees in the trap.
Okay, definitely not like that, Simon, and it was usually Korean music.
I'm so sorry, but I love you in the team now.
And the classroom that won it all would win like this gigantic box full of like ramen and chips and snacks. So this was like something that you really wanted to win.
The more Martina describes it, the more jealous I am that my school never invited me to these festivities. And we had like campfires and we talked. It was great. We had these activities.
They come back to school holding hands with rainbows. They're like la la la
I'm
la
like,
la 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 la.
glad that I could be a part of that.
Yeah. I think it was actually sad that you didn't get a chance to go because it
Very
was really
sad.
important for like the bonding of the foreign teacher. Because it's like your first time seeing them, right? The semester starts in around like March or so. And so after being there for a month, we get to go and like run around with them and take pictures with them and like chat with them outside of like the school setting. So when I came back to school, we had lots of inside jokes and we had bonded and become much closer together.
Okay, so enough about this. I'm feeling very sad and jealous. Let's talk about the second festival, which I realized that I also wasn't invited to take part of.
Oh, which one is that?
This was the sports day that they had. It was pretty much another homeroom competition kind of thing. Like every single homeroom would get together and they would compete in these like wild and wacky sports. I remember seeing one through the window of my office as I was peeking like a creeper. All the students would like line up and they would like pass balls back and forth to each other, like the over, under. And whoever won the most points at the end of the day would be crowned victor and would win something that I wasn't involved in.
A box of ramen. Well, my school was a little bit different though because your school had like wacky activities. We had tug of war.
No, my school had tug of war as well. I remember seeing that.
Well, let me tell you what we did at my school. Mine's the chipper story. So I remember my students coming into class like knit, and the classes that have really close bonding are the ones that have like the amazing team cheers and they even order shirts online. Like this is a really big memory making
I remember
moment.
that also.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the students all having like
Matching
similar uniforms.
shirts.
Like they all had like shirts that they actually printed themselves. They didn't just buy random shirts. They like print up their own designs. They had like different headbands.
Matching and they had like animal headbands.
Yeah. I do remember that.
Yeah. I also made a video about that day, didn't I?
I think you made a video about all the festivals at your school.
And the last awesome festival, which I don't know if you had at your school or not, but this was kind of like, it was at the end of the exam period where the third year students had finished writing their stressful exams. And it was for the first and second year students because the third year students got the day off. It was a big deal for them because this is their last time to kind of have fun. Going into third year is like your hard year.
Is not fun at all.
So this day was basically my favorite festival. The whole school would shut down for the whole day and every classroom would have its own theme. So you'd have like a tteokbokki cafe or they'd make like a coffee shop or a haunted house.
Or you've seen this before if you've watched our videos because Martina actually did a video on this before.
Yeah, so I was playing like the hand games with my students and stuff like that. So that day was really fun. And it ends again with like a talent show. So
I'm sorry, I'm just really embittered that my school didn't involve me in anything. I don't like this topic at all.
Keep your little one. You want us to have a school festival in our
Hey,
house?
that's it for this week's TLDR.
Oh.
If you have a question that I could participate in for next week's TLDR, leave your question in the comment section below.
Or you could ask a question about makeup and you could thumbs that up to the top. Or any other question you think is interesting. And you can also leave your questions on our website as well.
There's bees in the trap. Bees in the trap.